Okie doke. So where to go? Oh. Okie doke. Almost forgot. That would suck to do that halfway through. The healthiest of all beverages. Eh. And it matches my shirt. Cool. So this week, what is the shelf life? 6? I think it's 6. You guys seem to be liking what I'm doing here. I'll try to put this not in my face. Last time I clipped it here, the audio sounded underwater, so I'm trying to talk directly into it. Let me know if it's working. Let me know if you have any tips. Let me know everything. And like and subscribe straight off the bat. So, shelf life 6. We're going to get back into it. Hopping right in. Lonesome Dove. I think this is week 2. Week 2 we're into this. I'm on page 399, chapter 51. A little bit less than halfway through, and this book is awesome. Like, it's easy to read. The pacing is, it's not too much. It's like a zone 2 run. It's like, all right, conversation pace, moving things right along, but it lets things simmer, lets things soak. And I found that there's parts. Part 1, I'm now on part 2. And then part 2, it like part 1 was a very straightforward narrative. It was like, all right, here we go. We got our story, easy peasy, moving right along. You're meeting the characters. Um, Someone asked, and I'm not going to remember who because I'm doing this off the handle. I don't really have notes today. Someone said, I can't wait to see who your favorite character is. And right off the bat, it was the pigs on the porch. Those were my favorites. But to be honest, so far from where I am, the most relatable is Captain Call because he works a ton and he's not obsessed by the ladies and he goes off into the wilderness by himself without talking about his feelings. That'd be me. So, Captain Call, can't wait to see how much I like him later. But I'm at the point where the narrative has branched and there are now a couple different stories going on. And McMurtry, what he seems to be doing is he's weaving them beautifully. They're coming together in a seamless fashion. Getting a little quick paced, trying to get all my information out, and I'm also trying to remember everything that I've been thinking about. It's like there's a whole audience in front of me, but it's me just talking to my phone. So let's chill. The narrative, the multiple different stories, and it's not like in other books that I've read where you got a main story and then it sidetracks to just fill in details, and it's like, can we get back to the main character, the hero? Can we get back to who I really give a damn about? No, it's like, oh wow, something just right off into the other cool story happening. So it's blooming, it's blossoming, and I'm really enjoying it. With that being said, again, because it's what 6 pounds of paper right here, I'm a little intimidated by giving myself a goal. Do you guys give yourself reading goals? Like for me, it hyper focuses. It's allowing me to create content like this. But do you guys do reading goals? Because for me, it's working. But when I have a goal, I get locked in. And I have not really been reading much of anything else. When I prepared for Friday to read my digital, what have you, because I couldn't have the book, I wound up being able to read all day. So I read Lonesome Dove continuously all week. I dabbled a little bit here and there. I got into the count for. Let's just pull her out. My sounds without sounds. I got into the count, and I'm keeping it fresh in my mind, and I'm noticing once I've had some time away from it, it doesn't go stale. It's just boom. Oh, I remember exactly where I am. It's easy to pick back up on, which is something I absolutely love about this book. But most of the chapters were thus far have been like 10 pages, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 pages. The one I'm on right now is like 20 something. So I didn't finish a whole chapter. with this. I sat down a couple times. I was going to get after it, but Lonesome Dove just sucked me back in. And between this, hold on, let's see if I can do this. I'm going to hold the mic. Between these two, look, this is going to be the thumbnail. Between these two books, it's a lot of pages. However, it's like watching TV. Like they're great books, and don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying them. These are not challenging books. Kind of what I'm looking for. I am enjoying them. They're great. I'm feeling more well read. I'm feeling more of the community by getting through these fat boys. They're lower. I didn't position these so you could see them, but they're on the next shelf. Um, and right now I'm kind of just cruising. My wife asked how it was going with these books, and I told her it's like watching Sons of Anarchy and Vikings and binge watching both of them the same time. It's like I'm having a blast following all these great stories, but it's consumption. Here we go. Here it's not like, you know, Pynchon, David Foster Wallace, Gas, you know, the OGs of think tank stuff. Um which is what I'm very excited to get back into. Um let's oh, so I brought my son. I went with my son to one of his swimming lessons, and I haven't been to a swimming lesson yet. I thought I'd be able to just sit back and read a book. And I didn't want to bring either one of these humongous weights. Excuse me. So I hopped into white noise. I got through these chapters are like 3 pages, at least the first two, and it's kind of like high neon. It's if you've seen those videos of like The Simpsons made by AI, that's what this feels like. Very realistic, but also very over the top. I think I said in an Instagram post, this is like reading in high def neon, and it's just Americana amplified. It's like under the microscope. It's kind of trippy so far, but it's very. Uh, See, this is another reason why I started this channel to work on my eloquence. That's a problem that I seem to be having, or not a problem, but it's something I'm noticing. I do these videos and then I watch them back like film to see how analytical I am, and I'm like, oh, this book is dark. It's like, bro, like think a little bit more. So please bear with me. I'm getting better at this, and I'm getting better at speaking. Another reason I'm doing this, so I can articulate and analyze better. But this is cool. I'm digging this. I'm not getting too far ahead of myself, so I'm 3 books deep in the middle of the month, and then I'm rushing at the end of the month, and I just put the count down. It's like the whole point is to relax with the books. There we go. It's funny. I'm trying to relax with the books, and I'm saying that these other two, this one and this one, are like they're not challenging. It's just it's just putting in the miles, and I've put in the miles before, but we'll see. I took a day off this week also. That was nice. But because I had some time and I had an appointment that was, don't do this if you're trying to not buy books. I had an appointment that I was early for next to the bookstore. I know I wasn't supposed to buy things. Now, I got a couple recommendations through the community, and everyone seemed so. We're now transitioning to the book haul part of the video. Solenoid, or I'm going to say it like the car part, solenoid. You guys have been ranting and raving about this thing. And look, it's got a cool award. I am not going to try to pronounce this name because I'm going to butcher it. Like all other big, cool books that are hip right now, and I know that there are a ton of videos on, I'll wait until I watch a bunch of them, really get into who this gentleman is, and see what this is about while I'm reading it. However, this is not my next to be read because someone said to me that, I mentioned that I was looking to get back into like the harder, more rough stuff. And they said that this book is very approachable and it's not as rough as I think it would be. After what I just said about watching TV and consuming with the two big fat boys, Solenoid might have to wait until the end of the year. I am really considering hopping into Gravity's Rainbow and just plowing through it. I know you're not going to understand it. I, I'm kind of like ready for that kind of challenge. And like I've said on this channel before, I can relate running with reading. And I started reading this because it's kind of like an ultra. It's big, it's long, and it involves suffering. The word suffering. Let's get back to a story from this week. It's October, it's spooky season. I was at work and people were talking about, apparently, because I'm just off doing my work, people were talking about horror movies. And someone said to me, Joe, you must be really into horror movies, right? And I didn't feel like getting into it and explaining all the weird stuff that I'm into. And I was like, yeah, horror movies are cool. And I'm thinking of all the obscure movies. And I'm like, I just don't want to get into it because I know no one here has seen these movies. And if I explain what they are, they're gonna be like, "You watch that?" I'm gonna go back to my booth. So I go back to my booth, and I started thinking, like, why am I like this? What, like, but I'm really not into the classic horror movies per se. There's not necessarily classic horror genres, but there's a feeling that I get from whether it be books or movies, and I'm sitting there and I'm really reflecting because I wanted to share it with you guys. I didn't know how to put it, and I think it's the suffering, like the constant boom, 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 like the suffering in life and the horrors of real life. And I'm not just talking like historical tragedies and things like that, but just the the written experience of eloquence. Try it's like the written angst, and if that can be articulated, it gives me a oh, you said it perfectly. And I've seen that in film, and I've heard it in music, and I've read it in books. And whether it be a romance or an actual horror or a thriller or a mystery or what have you, if it gives me that feeling that, like, ah, and it's usually darker, weirder stuff, and it's just like, yes. I don't know. So, with that being in mind, suffering, I'm looking for more of a rough cut book, something that I need to work through. Kind of like running an ultra or running a marathon or doing an Ironman, things that I've done physically, but now I need those things for my mind. Let's do that. Infinite Jest was that, but apparently this is not the pinnacle of that kind of a thing. Apparently that would be Gravity's Rainbow. And, we're getting towards the end of the year. Do I want to just hop in? Do you think that I should do this? I have read The Crying of Lot 49. I thought that that was dope. A couple things kind of got lost. And then I have V, Thomas Pynchon's V. And I've also considered, reading this and then Gravity's Rainbow because apparently these two came out before Gravity's Rainbow. I don't want to get in over my head, and I will eventually read the whole Pynchon catalog, but these things take time. So if you have the recommendation, that's what I'm thinking. Another thing, I've been enjoying following the book clubs, but you guys are picking some big fat books. And there are things that I might just need to break off and just do my own thing for a while. I'll catch up with everybody as they go. I'm having fun, but I kind of don't like things when they get too popular. It's not that they're overplayed, it's just right now Lonesome Dove is so tiresomely popular. It feels trendy, and for me, anything that feels, I usually like things, and then I find out that they're trendy, and I'm like, oh, I'll come back to this when it's not cool. All right, have fun. I got onto all this talking about my book haul because I had an appointment. See how we jump around here without the notes? There we go. Now, another author that literally everyone has been ranting and raving and singing the praises of is Clarice Lispector. This is The Hour of the Star, and I am excited. Look at that. I am excited to plow through this. I don't know how difficult this is going to be, but it doesn't look too rough. It looks like a nice break, and I've heard this is, kind of exactly what I'm looking for. With doing these big books, I am excited to. That's kind of another reason why I'm averse to doing Gravity's Rainbow right off the bat, because it's another end of the year big guy. Same thing with the Tunnel. Tunnel's up there too. I I heard that that's not the most accessible one either. So looking at that one, but a couple skinnies might be a nice palate cleanser. Tear through a couple, get my end of the year book count up. Not that I care, but like when I set my goal, the beginning of this year, I think it was like 24 books. I don't think I hit that. I took a big long chunk of time off where I was just, mood reading. Here's another one. I've heard the term mood reading a lot this week. I'm a mood reader. The mood I'm looking like, I will normally read if I'm in a good mood. Like if I'm in a good mood, I don't necessarily want a good book. The mood that I'm looking for, depression. That's the one that I like reading about the most. Angst, striving, suffering, dark stuff. That's what I like. Full send. Uh, Not vulnerability. It's just that's my jam, man. Like I don't know why. It's just weird. Dostoevsky, big thick ones, but that's another one who has like that kind of air to it. It's like you get it. Now, those last two, I grabbed Solenoid and what is this? The Spectre, The Hour of the Star. I put those on hold. I ordered those online. I knew I wanted them. I didn't want to be running around the bookstore, and I had an appointment. But I also had enough time to just wander through the bookstore. I was kind of in a rush. I'm like, you got like 12 minutes before you got to get back out into your truck. And here's another side story. I'm in there. I'm by myself, and I'm about to go. I had a doctor's appointment. That's why I was going, and I had a couple minutes to get in and out, and I'm running around, and I'm all anxious about like making it in time, and I'm like, oh, let's find something good, and I did find something good, but there was an old woman. She must have been, I don't know, 85, 90 years old maybe, and she wasn't as able-bodied as she probably had been in her past, and she had one of those walkers with like the handbrake on it and the wheels. And we were kind of separated, but we were like the only people in the store. And she was heading towards the bathroom, and I went around the corner. I was looking for the poetry section, and I just heard her say, "Oh God, don't fall here right in the store!" Like you could tell. And for me, it just snapped me out of it. It's like, oh, you're running around the store because you're in a rush for 10 minutes when this woman's body is failing her, and it really put me into perspective. It's like, oh, you're in a rush to get to the doctor for the doctor to tell you you're perfectly healthy. Why don't you slow down, man? And I mean, yes, slow down, man. And that woman, like, from her saying that, made me slow down. It made me realize, like, that's why I'm making this content to really get more analytical about the books I read, to slow down with how many page count and how many books I read in a year. Slow down and enjoy it now because it's a privilege to be able to run around and prance around a bookstore when you're in a hurry. When right next to you, there's a woman who just is hoping and praying her body keeps up for her to go to the bathroom and leave the bookstore safely. It was just like oh, let's be grateful. While I was having all those thoughts, I wound up coming across War, another thin one. The back, this looks sick, dark, I know. And it also looks like another fun weekend read palette cleanser. With Lonesome Dove, I've partitioned it to read like about 40 pages a day, but I can do that 4 times a week and I'll finish in the end of the month. With that, if I have time on the weekends, I can read other things like The Count, these skinny ones. I'll be doing that probably for the end of the month. And another thing, I ordered a couple books on thrift books. So with all the reading I've been doing, I know I keep looking over here. Let's take a sippy break. Why don't you do it yourself? A lot of like I'm not like an English guy. I'm not I don't have like an education in this. I have an interest. And I've noticed like cuz I've related this to running, I've related this to music. I'm a very self-talk. I took like this last week, that was my first like doctor's appointment in like almost a decade. I just don't ask for help. And I'm a very DIY, teach yourself how to do things. And with 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 reading, no, let's go out. Let's do with exercise. With exercise, I never had a coach, and I did triathlon, and Ironman was like a lot of fluff, as in gear, and there's a lot of things where you can blame a performance or a result on X, Y, and Z. Running is more accessible and minimal. Put your shoes on, go, and that's it. And I like that. And now with art, like I've done a lot of painting, I've done a lot of drawing. Excuse me. And that kind of feels like Iron Man in that there's a lot of extra details to muddle the voice. I heard Stephen King say once, in order to be a good writer, you have to read a lot. And okay, so I started reading more. And I don't ever think I'll write a book on uh like a story or things like that maybe one day, but a part of reading all these new things and jumping into literature so much and teaching myself so much, I have a ton of old poetry and writing stuff that I've just been like brain spout, here it is. And that's why I'm interested in modern poetry and abstract poetry and things like that, cuz I got a lot that's just sitting around. I don't know how to use it. One thing, cuz I don't know, but I did know about haikus, the 575 format. When I was getting ready for Ironman Lake Placid in 2019, I wrote a haiku every day for my entire training cycle. I think it was like 200 and some odd days in a row, and it was funny things to not funny things to real serious to just about like the weather that day. To my dog, he came around the corner once. He had a butcher's knife in his mouth. I'm like, bro, oh my god, how'd you grab that? And I wrote a haiku about that. But it's like the whole training series, but it's just sitting, and I don't know enough about this to feel confident in it, and that's why it's like running. You know, the right, you just get your pen and you go. You put on running. You put on your shoes. You go. So, with all that being said, and now I'm making content and I'm looking around the internet, and I've been seeing other people who do book stuff do more about poetry stuff. So I got a couple things coming in the mail that I'm excited about, but I'm going to wrap it up pretty soon. This is already 24 minutes. I flipped my camera around because I didn't like having the tripod in the way of the camera. It was kind of blurry, like right here and right here. But I found Yale Open courses, and they had a whole modern poetry semester. And I was like, oh, what is this? And it had like the books you need, and here's who we're going to cover. So once a week, I'm going to be following along with that. And I went to the library and I got a couple other stuff. So those next week, we're going to have a book haul. And I watched the introduction and I went back to the library and I got the complete works, Robert Frost. I got like an assignment per se, things I assigned myself. And then the week after that, we got some Yeats. I don't know much about either of these two guys. I just know that they're OGs and that they're very important. So I'm excited to get into that. If you didn't know about this Yale open course thing, it's free on YouTube, and then it has a link to Yale, and it's got all the materials you need. So I thought that was pretty dope, especially being a guy who teaches and coaches himself and doesn't ask for help. It's structured, unlike this video, and hopefully, it can help somebody else out. That's about it. That's about all I got for you guys. Got kind of a wild week. Uh, yeah, and thanks again. Please like and subscribe. I might have a surprise for you next week. Just a little. We're getting more personal. We're starting to know each other a little bit better. So it's exciting. So it doesn't have to be just straight up books like, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Joe. I do stuff. I like books. That's all I need to know right now." But I might be real stoked next week. Like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. You're keeping me going. I feel the love. I feel it. Like, this is great. It's like I found. Yeah. How's that sound? Seems like I found a good community and a good crew of people here. So appreciate your support. Love you guys. See you next week for Shelf Life 7. Later.